to this inaugural or first edition of the CyberUncles channel. The topic for the day would be, our journey to IT from Naija to the world. Uh, on the call, we have Sharif, David, and G. We will be, introducing ourselves later, but I think it's quite important that at first, right, we define the purpose of this channel because, joining for the first time, you're wondering what's this channel about, right? Um, I think this is just a meeting of minds where, three friends, you can call it brothers, where we came together and decided, um, we want to share with the world what, our journey into IT has been, right? Uh, that's for today's topic, but beyond that as well, so right, how can we give back to the community where we all come back from, you know, be as a sort of contribution to the larger IT world, not just for people in IT in Africa, but people in IT all over the world. Most of the things we would be saying would resonate to uh, people in Nigeria, where which is the common factor amongst the three of us, but would also be very beneficial to people all across the world as well too. So that's the purpose of the channel, and that's sort of segueing into the topic that we have today, which is our journey to IT from Nigeria to the world. A bit of disclaimer, right? On this page, we are representing ourselves. We're not representing any company. We're not representing the companies we work for. We're just here as individuals, willing to share a bit of knowledge that we have, and help, uh, what I say, people that are also coming up or are in the same or trying to get into the same IT field as, we have been for the last couple of years, right? Um, so like I said, we're not representing any company. We're just sharing our own personal experience, our personal knowledge that we've acquired over this time. Uh, for privacy reasons, we will not be dropping, even most of the things we'll be doing will be storytelling, right? And we would not be dropping in the names of people, companies, offices, or the likes of that, for privacy reasons. And most importantly, if you like the content, please do like, share, subscribe, comment. Uh, Obviously, we like the engagement, trying to see how well the world is receiving this, right? That's the channel, the Cyber Uncles over there. Okay, so we'll move right away into the next section where we would uh, be introducing each member of the team or of the panel, if I can call it that. And I think I would hand that section over to um, G to take it over. All right, G, over to you.
So thank you, Uncle Shifi. My name is Jay. I'm here with Shifi, like you said, and Alfo at the same time, David. I think we all went to the same secondary school, and we've known each other back in the days, maybe since 1998 or so. That's over 2 decades or something. And I currently work as a principal security architect for a company, but then we're not here to disclose any company or anything. So that's what I do right now, and I will let David, take it from there to introduce himself as well.
Yeah, thanks, Uncle G. Thanks, Uncle Chifi. I'm Uncle David, and I'm currently a cloud and application security engineer. And prior to that, I've been a cloud security and DevOps engineer. And prior to that, I've been an app developer. So in total, I've been in IT for more than 10 years. And we just feel like we should share our journey to the world and encourage other people that are trying to get into IT or they've been into IT and then they're still trying to, figure which area to go into. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'll pass it back to Mkushifi.
All right, thanks, Afo. So yeah, back again. I'm Shifi. I'm originally from Nigeria, now based in Canada. Um, yeah, my background is in IT. I did my first degree in computer science, and I've been working in IT with specialization in network and network security for almost a decade and a half now. Um, and if you would notice that in introductions, right, that we did give, we didn't none of us mentioned about certifications or where we are working, right, and we're doing that, you know, on purpose, right, because we would rather have you, the audience, determine if there is value, in what we are saying, and not attach so much importance to the certifications that we have, or the big companies that we've worked for, right? I think across this board or this panel, right, we have experience that spans quite a number of industries, and we have certifications that sparse quite a number of technologies as well. So, but that's not why we are here, right? We want you to determine the value in what we are speaking or what we are saying, and not put so much emphasis of where we've worked, or the kind of experiences or certifications we've acquired. Okay, so listen, and with an open mind, and hopefully you can gain one or two things from there. The next section we'll be going to right now is, I know a lot of people, you were wondering, cyber uncles, what is cyber uncles, right? So I'll let Uncle Afo explain, how that came up, how that name came about.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Shifi. The way CyberUncles came up, we were just deliberating on, okay, let's create this thing, let's share our knowledge with the world, with our experience, and with, having worked in two different continents of the world, and with, different culture, we wanted to come up with a name that definitely you look like, oh, what is CyberUncle? So CyberUncle in itself is just because primarily we are more focused on cybersecurity, area of technology. However, this channel is not limited to that, because we actually rose through the ranks of different technology roles. So we wanted something that can capture us as mentor, as well as as partners with junior professionals as well. And I wouldn't want anybody to see like, oh, uncle, does that mean that we are not receptive to women or aunties as well? No, it's just a name that we just want to make sure that, oh, cyber uncles, those type of questions that comes in, oh, they are just uncles. It's just for men or boys alone. No, for everybody, anyone that has passion for technology, we are welcome. And the goal for us is, as we begin to share our experience and mentor other people, we build a community of uncles and aunties as well, where we can actually tie an uncle and auntie to a junior professional to mentor them through the whole journey. And that's how the name just came up. So it's just like a more like, eventually it's going to be like a one-to-one mentorship between uncles and junior professionals, and eventually they're going to become an uncle and auntie. So and that's how we just came up with the name. It was from a deliberation, and we just wanted something unique in itself, and also to capture the purpose. Just like every one of us, each and every one, we have an uncle somewhere, and some of them have mentors, right? The good uncles that we have. So we just want to put it in a professional way, where the cyber uncles can mentor and guide the young professionals, and that's how we came up with that name. Yeah.
All right, thanks. Uncle G wants to mention something. Yeah, go for
I
it.
mean, in addition to what David just said, this is not just about security alone, because I remember from the introduction point, we all talked about, our profession to be like, I'm a principal security architect, and David talked about being, a cloud security, application security professional. Why Uncle Shifi said he's into network security and everything. This is just a mentorship for anything that has to do with IT, irrespective of where you want to be, on maybe DevOps, on networking, security, anywhere you want to be in the IT world. We kind of like open to, provide some kind of guidance, mentorship, and everything you want within that space. So don't feel like maybe because we mention more about security, then kind of like thinking maybe it's just about security. No, we do everything if you want. So we just have to render service, and that's all.
All right. Thanks for that. And just to add, one little thing to that, I think it's been well said by both of you. But one thing I want to add to that is that um, if you look at the the combined experience that we have on this panel, right? Uh, we've been around, right? There's no two ways about it. We've been around, and we've gone through quite the maturity into the world of IT and cybersecurity. So, you know, throwing some fun in there is, the word honko, just had some fun, into it that, um, we don't see ourselves, as all that, but, at the same time, what's the best word to put it now? You don't cut yourself short, right? We sort of know what we are talking about, if you get what I mean, right? We're not here to poop anybody's legs, right? But we do know what we're talking about. So that's what the name uncle is coming from. So let's get into the topic for the day. Journey to IT, right? What's our journey into IT? Yeah, the journey is going to be different for everybody. Uh, so let's start with Uncle G. How talk us through how you ended up in IT or cyber security.
Thank you, Uncle Shifi. Like you all know, both of you, you guys studied computer science for the first degree, but I did biochemistry. And, after moving to the United States, I kind of felt like, I was just trying to do something different from what I used to do back in Nigeria. And the real thing I would have loved to do wasn't something I felt I could do at that point. So I decided to kind of like go into something else. And after, doing a whole lot of finding, solving the internet just to really see where I can be, because at the end of the day, I was trying to make sure that I do something I would like and something that would give me money at the same time. So I was trying to balance the two. And, IT was something I've wanted to, but then, because of chance and what I studied, so I decided to, okay, so let me just check into the IT world. I started digging, solving the internet just to see where can I fit into and how can I start and everything. Then, I spoke to somebody. I remember I spoke to a friend of mine who said, okay, because he's a network, he's currently a network architect. And, we talked about it and he was really suggesting about the networking field. But, within me, that wasn't something I would really want to do. Then I decided to, go into cybersecurity. I started finding out, trying to dig deep about how I can start. I enrolled in a program in one university in America, Georgia Tech, where I did like a boot camp and I started learning more about security from there. It was really a very tough and intense program. So that was kind of like the first foundation I had in, cybersecurity, and that was where I started everything. So I started doing the boot camp, and I started learning a whole lot of things about IT. Cybersecurity, different field in cybersecurity, from GRC, application security, to everything about the security world. Then from there, I was learning the networking as well. And I remember I used to reach out to you, Shifi, about the networking, trying to kind of like, get a seat on, the cider and all the part of, networking I was trying to learn. And I would reach out to him to like, so what do you think about this? And he would kind of like provide this guidance on what he thought to be right about it, because he is a network, expert for a while. So I would reach out to him and I started, doing so many things, doing personal studies, learning from classes, going online, checking so many things just to really gain so much knowledge about the cybersecurity thing. So moving from moving from being a biochemist to being a cybersecurity professional now, it hasn't been easy because, that's like a switch from pure science or medical science to IT. I've seen people asking me, how did you get about it? How's the journey been and everything? And I keep telling people like it will never be easy, switching. But at the end of the day, it all depends on how you really put your mind and how you really want to do it. I'm right now working as the principal security architect, where I provide a lot of security guidance, for the different teams, for different security issues, for different things coming up within my company at the enterprise and at the project level at the same time. So, which is something that gives me joy right now because leading teams, providing security guidance, we're in a position whereby people believe in what you say and they come to you to like, okay, we're having this issue from the security standpoint. What do you think we can do? And how do you think we can move forward from this? So, which is something I love doing right now. It is really not about the money right now because getting the passion from it is something that goes a long way, which is like what drives me every day to say, okay, I want to wake up and I want to work and I want to continue to do this, and leading the team and providing a lot of security guidance and providing a lot of security information for my internal customers and everything. And it's been a wonderful journey. But then I will let you guys talk about your personal experience as well. So anybody wants to go first?
Yeah, I can go next. Thanks for that, G. For me, I have a different background in IT. I remember when I finished from high school then. I went, back in Nigeria, there's a process where you finish high school. Is either you go to a computer center, you have to learn something while you wait for you to get admitted into university. So when I finished, while I was waiting, I went to a computer school where I studied computer engineering. And what we're being taught there was how to disassemble computers and put them together. And I feel that was where my passion started from because I've never actually done anything with computer up until that time. And then when I did it, I felt, oh, wow, this thing came easy. Because prior to then, I didn't even know what I wanted to do in my life. Because at some point during my jam, I was feeling food science for university, petroleum engineering. I don't even know what I wanted to do with my life. But then when I started, disassembling the computer, to me, I felt, bro, like I think this is the passion. And then I started doing that. Then within my area, living on the island, I would help people to just put their computers together, buy a computer, couple it together, and then I started from there. I started helping people feel as much as WAEC, just this online. Then internet just came to Nigeria. Then it wasn't as much as it is right now, where you have to use your phone to connect to your laptop, to GPRS. You make all those connections with dial-up connections. So at that point, I felt like this is what I wanted to do. There was passion for me from then. It wasn't the money then. And then I went to Korapoli to do computer science. And then that was where I was introduced to programming. And I felt, wow, I can tell computer to do something for me. That was mind blowing. And then I got passionate a little bit into application development. I did a little bit of that. And then there was a point where I need to survive, where I need money. And I think I need to learn. That's when I actually got into web design and web application developing, like basic application for people. And then that was how I started. And eventually, when I came to the United States, I figured that I was surviving back at home. I needed to build a career out of something. So I couldn't do that. But then I fell into cloud. I was just going through something that I could do. And then that was how I got into cloud. And when I got into cloud, what struck me was that all of the journey that I've walked through, being computer engineering, building stuff, developing stuff, all of those skills were embedded into cloud. And that was how I really fell in love with the cloud. And then I initially kind of like learn how to deploy or maintain the cloud. You just use stuff in the cloud before securing it. And today I find myself in an application cloud security engineer. Um, Now we are in a different world. I'm beginning to feel like I might eventually even get into AI security, which is the next big thing right now. But as of now, I'm focused on application cloud security, and the journey has nothing short of fun for me because it's passion that meets the pay that comes with it. But definitely, it's from passion. And again, just like she said something that when you want to switch, apart from you just having the passion, you want to switch. But again, sometimes we might actually start some things for some not so good reason, but when we get in there, we can actually start making, we have good reasons to stay and actually develop ourselves into it. So I don't know who's listening out there. You might sometimes start some things with bad, not even clear reasons. But once you start, you figure it out, and then you can, be on the right way to better things. So I'll pass it on to Shifi.
Yeah, thanks, Afo. So yeah, I think for my journey, it's been, I think I clicked right from when I was young. I knew I wanted to do something, different. Yeah. All my older siblings had all been, commercial students, right? I wanted to be a science student, and then as I grew older, right, I knew I like to fix stuff in it. I also sometimes uh, would I say breaking something in the place of fixing it, right? So uh, I knew I wanted as I grew older, I knew I wanted to become a computer scientist, right? That was all that made sense to me then. That I wanted to do something with computers. What I wanted to do, what my specialization, I wasn't sure about it, right? Even up until when I was in my 300 or 400 level in the university. Um, I don't know if any of you guys on the call, Ganu, G or Afo are even aware that, I initially started or wanted to be a programmer, right? Up until my final year. I think in my final year, I was doing a lot of coding, reading for coding. And I think there was a light bulb moment that says, I don't think this is for me because I think I failed my first professional exam, right? And it felt so weird failing an exam that because if it's something I know how to do, right, it's knowing how to pass an exam, like so it felt so strange failing an exam, and sometimes you need to fail to reevaluate that is this really the right thing for me, right? So failing that exam, I believe it was Oracle, something Oracle related exam that I failed then, and made me sit down and do a retake that is this really for me, right? And I had someone introduce me then into networking, right? And said, oh, why don't you give this a trial, right? So I believe it was after I finished my university, my first degree, that I started taking networking very seriously. um, um, I went to a computer school as well. So just like Afo said, right, I went to a computer school, did my CCNA. Um, and then this was really about the time I knew that this was what I was meant to do, right? Because when I wanted to write my CCNA exam, right, I also had sort of like a very difficult situation that I was in then. So I was pretty much writing the exam under not the best of circumstances, right? And I was able to pass the exam, right? So which was you know sort of like a moment that let me know that this is what I'm meant to do, because comparing that to the Java, I think was the Oracle Java exam I did then, right? I think I had also some physical challenge. I think I was a bit ill then, and I wrote the exam and I failed it. And then I came to networking, also had a challenge during writing the exam, right? Some personal issues I was dealing with at that time, but I wrote the exam and I passed it, right? So just I got sort of a feeling of conviction that I think this is what I'm meant to do, right? And I sort of committed to it, and then uh, went through different organizations, grew through the ranks. um, I was pretty much doing the same job I was doing in Nigeria when I moved to Canada, right? So and pretty much it's fun, right? Because especially when you do something that you love, right? Uh, it's because it's particularly something I derive a lot of joy from. Networking is you're coming to solving different problems every day. The problem you faced yesterday is not the same problem you face tomorrow. And I think why I enjoy it the most is that I, I I'm the kind of person that I like to work on a problem, chew at it. I'm like a dog with a bone, right? Chew at it until it gets solved, right? It's gonna bug me until I solve it, right? And I don't think you can go with that kind of a mentality if you're a programmer. You have to be able to uh well, I say code through phases, go through each of the phases. I don't think I have that temerity or patience. I'm not built like that, right? Um, so I think that's where I am at today, with it as a network security specialization that I'm based at. So um, I see G has his hand raised. G, you want to say something to that?
Yeah, in addition to what you said and I mean David said as well, the journey is always different from people who have different stories to share when it comes to the journey. From Nigeria back then, I don't know how things work right now. The first thing you have to do after your secondary school is to go to computer school, like which I think almost everybody did that back then. I don't know what it is for now. Because that was kind of like a foundation for you to just. I remember then the common thing then was you just have to have this computer knowledge. It wasn't about you chasing a career in computer science or something. It was just like, no, I mean, you just have to know how to operate the computer and everything. And the only thing we were taught in, because I think I went to one in Lagos then, Lagos City Computer College, somewhere in Ikeja or something. And we're just there to kind of like get the computer knowledge, not thinking about chasing a career in IT or, in security or something. But then we're just there to like, let me learn what it is. Let me learn what the computer is. Let me learn what Microsoft Word, Excel, maybe PowerPoint and everything. And the focus then was on Microsoft because that was like the most important thing for you to learn in a computer school back then. The other thing maybe people learning Corel Draw, to do design and everything. So which was something people were just developing, passion for then. But it wasn't for anything, but as the journey is for everybody to be different, I've been in different classes where people talk about from law to IT or to a cybersecurity professional to a network. I have a friend that I told you who introduced me to IT, who we talked about when we were in school. He studied performing arts. He's a network architect now. So it's gonna be a different journey. I mean, different stories for everybody when they talk about their IT journey. But at the end of the day, what I think makes everybody stands out is just that determination to like, I think I want to do this thing and I think I'm gonna give it everything it takes. And just that determination of, trying to find yourself doing it over and over. Even sometimes you get it wrong, but you wake up, you still wake up and you still want to get this thing done. And that passion to like, I need to get to the end of this thing is what I think keeps everybody, going and striving in the field of IT. You know.
Yeah, that's very very important, G. So thanks for sharing that point. It's never too late. So just for anyone who this might be useful for, it's never too late to start. If you've made that determination in your mind that you want to switch into IT, right? It's never too late to start. And IT, is quite wide, right? There are different areas of IT that you could, focus on or specialize in. That, you can use where your skills or your strengths are in, and then you find, a pathway to success in that field. So look at the three of us, different journeys into IT. I've been doing IT, let's even start from, when I did my first degree. So, learning towards IT. And for someone who uh, had his first degree in, in biochemistry, right? Um, did a, worked outside of IT even for a bit before coming to the States and then switching into IT. And, pretty much is at the top, or, very, very, if not at the top, very close to the top of his, of his career right now. So let's segue into another section where we say, how IT is different in Nigeria from, practicing IT in the West. And I think I will speak to that, and I will let, any of my panelists also add into that if they would like to. Um, I would say it's pretty much, depending on what segment of IT you are working at, right? Um, it's pretty much the same, right? Because for my role particularly, right, I was doing the role I'm in today was a similar role I was doing while I was in Nigeria, right? Uh, the difference is that, it was more challenging to fulfill that role while in Nigeria because, we had, particularly for the infrastructure, the infrastructure to support you to be able to perform those duties effectively, right? I remember there was a point in time because for majority of the time when I was working in Nigeria, I was working remotely, right? And at a point in time, right, I was pretty much like a mini ISP in my home. I had pretty much all the providers because, I had to plan for redundancy on redundancy. So if I'm working on this network and this network is bad, I can switch to this network. I can switch to this network, right? So that felt a bit challenging to me. But at the same time, that's sort of sparks an idea in my head that if you look at the operating world where we are in today, right? Nigeria has the skills, the resources, the human resources, right, to become a technology hub for the rest of the world, just like India is today, right? A lot of organizations run their, service centers, technology service centers out of uh, countries where they can have you first of all the human resources, the number of talents that they have to pull from, the pool of talents that they have to choose from, right? As well as, the availability of, cost of labor, the lower cost of labor, right? Hiring IT people in North America specifically is quite expensive, right? So a lot of companies, shift operations to low operating countries where they can have low operating costs, right? Because the skill or the resources, the human power are already there, right? So if you look at the amount of people that we have, leaving school in Nigeria, we have the resources, right? If government can, put in place materials to, build that ecosystem where companies can see Nigeria as the technology hub, right? It will have, a lot of ripple effect in the economy because Nigerians are quite resilient. That's one thing about Nigerians. We are very resilient, right? And we pretty much find a way to make things work, right? But unfortunately, the environment, the operating environment, sometimes is not very suitable. So, in terms of how IT is different in Nigeria and the West, um, pretty much similar, quite much similar. But a few nuances that are there in terms of mostly the companies in the West specifically have a lot more IT or security budgets. In Nigeria, you have to fight for every kobo that you have to you're able to you can gather, right? But it's not that it's different. It's not that they hand you the IT budget, and they give you a blank check even in the West as well too, right? It's just like sometimes you don't have to bend over backwards, to get the budget that you need to do the deliverables that are needed. So I think, in my opinion, I think that would be, one of the major differences that we have between, operating in Nigeria and then in North America, where we are both based. Um, for G, do you want to add anything, or do we move on to the next segment?
Yeah, I think I can just add to that. I feel another difference with the West with Nigeria is structure. Compared to the West of A, especially United States, most IT department is more structured. You know, the principle of separation of duty is really enforced over here compared to back in Nigeria, where I don't think we implement that principle. So not in all cases, maybe in some highly regulated industry, finance, and but most companies don't enforce that. So outside the structure, I feel the technology are still the same. Um, the same PowerShell that we use here, it's the same PowerShell in Nigeria, the same Terraform. So it's pretty to me, it's just like the structure over there is different. There are no enforcement. And I feel with what the government is doing currently, those exchange strict data laws, data privacy laws. Nigeria is beginning to enforce some of those things. Um, so yeah, I think apart from the structure, I think there's no difference in the type of technology or anything.
All right. G?
Me, like David, like you guys said, there is really not much difference between what we do here and what they do in Nigeria. But they like like David said, when you talk about the policy and the enforcement, that is what makes that is what creates the difference to me. Because if you look at Europe and you talk about the GDPR and everything, the penalty if you default or something, the consequence. You're looking at how much you have to pay. So just because of that, you have to make sure you do the right thing. And doing the right thing will make you that will create the job. So not like David said now, like Nigeria is trying to go about this data
Data
security
privacy.
and everything. So like data privacy. If you go into that, that is really gonna create a lot of jobs. Because at that point, if there is a breach, there is a penalty, there's something, there is a consequence. So if there are consequences you have to face, if anything goes wrong, that will make you. So just let's just imagine like if any breach happens, and we have the due care and the due diligence or something. If you miss any of those things, then maybe you're paying like maybe 110 billion naira or something. That's a lot of money for companies to lose. So they
Yeah.
will rather spend that money because even by the time you have to get somebody or you have to get people to enforce those security controls in place and monitor all those things, you probably not spend up to 1 billion in a year. For
Mm.
breaking that thing or violating or defaulting into that side of the data privacy law and everything, you're already paying 10 billion. So in that case, just because of that enforcement of the policies and GAMI compliance and everything, if Nigeria can actually put those things into places and everything, I believe that is going to create a lot of jobs. From
Mm.
there, I mean, we can say we'll surely move. We'll be getting closer to what is really happening in the Western world. Because the only thing is, if you violate anything, somebody is there to like punish you, and you have to pay something. And because of that, you don't even want to be caught doing that kind of thing because they will publish it. At the end of the day, you lose a lot of customers, their reputation, and everything. So,
Yeah.
but that's what I see to be the major difference. Other than that, I think in my own opinion, I think all other things they're all the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Good points. Good point. To end on that topic, right? You would also notice that in Nigeria, right, we're pretty much generalists, right? You have the same person doing networking, same person is network security. In smaller organizations, the same person is a network engineer, the same person is a website manager, the same person is database administrator. In the West, I think there is a lot more specializations, right? You see, there's a team that's focused on network and networking only. There's a team that's focused on network architect, or you're pretty much designing the networks. They're pretty much security architects, network security. So there's a lot of specializations or companies that follow the model of specializations with IT, and it has um, it's a double-edged sword if you call it. Let me use that word because used if you start off as a generalist, right? You have pretty much broad idea of across many technologies, right? So in my opinion, I think it's better to start a career as a generalist, right? Having experience in different areas, and then as you grow in the career, you become more of a specialist. Right now, right? I started my career as I was network engineer, network security, network monitoring, all of those roles in one. Right now, pretty much a network security uh, specialist, right? But all those experience I had, in monitoring, in network engineering, all of those, I typically use that on a day-to-day basis, right? So I think we can wrap that up there and move on to the next segment, which is um, if there's one advice we wanted to give to taking back, if we could wind back the clock a decade ago, right? Or when we started IT, right? One word advice which I would give to myself, or which each of us can give to ourselves. So let's start with G. Going back, let's wind the clock.
I think what I would have done different is just, you know, understanding the concept of networking before going into security. Because in some, I mean, I would say in some companies, they are I mean, there are two different things, but understanding networking gives you a good landing spot in security, especially if you fall into, I mean, any part of security, as long as you're not in GRC or something, you have to apply that network knowledge. So I think I will, because I've seen somebody in my company who actually was a network person before moving into security. And, sometimes when we're at the ARB meeting sometimes and people start talking, you can see that knowledge of that networking knowledge in everything he says. So I would have, because for me now, if I see anybody trying to come into cybersecurity right now, I'll tell the person like, you want to make sure you know one or two things that networking to an extent, which is going to give you that landing spot if you go into cybersecurity. I think I will study networking. I'm still studying networking right now, but then I would have done better if I'd actually gone into that networking to really have that much or detailed knowledge before switching into, cybersecurity full time. So I think that's something that I would have done different
All right.
from what I did.
Okay. Afo?
Yeah. For me, I think what I would have done different would be to actually seek out a mentor. Because most of everything I've done in IT has always been like self-learning. And you tend to make mistake and then you go back, you make mistake, which eats out of your time. Just imagine if you had someone that has walked the walk before. It would be so easy that to consult them and to guide you. So the journey to success would have been shorter than the way I've moved. So I think that's what I would have done better to seek. The environment we come from, we don't really have that mentor mentee thing, especially if you are not from such a privileged family. So I think that's what I would have done different, and which is one of the things that created this. Have to like help the younger people that they don't have to like go through the orders when they are in that point where they're trying to decide where to go. Having the right people, okay, these are the things based on their skills. I think you will do well in this area. Just push all of your energy there rather than having to find out you try this one, you go there until you find your niche. So I think that's what I would have done better.
Yeah, I think that make a lot of. I think I can actually relate to both examples that you gave. I would say for me, I was lucky to have started with networking, right? And I was lucky to have had very good people, wonderful people, um, guide me as I joined, a good team, when I started my earlier in my career. So, and that was basically just luck, right? That I had the right people I was able to be paired with, that held me all through the way. Um, I think for me, one thing I would have, liked to have known when I started IT is that having that understanding that, IT or cybersecurity, right, is there to support the business, right? uh, Without the business, right, IT doesn't exist, right? And you know, especially with the operating system that we have that has existed in the past, right? A business can decide to go to another model where they don't use the managed IT. They can outsource their IT, and pretty much uh, means you're out of a job, right? So you know the kind of structure I think or not the style. I won't want to say structure. I came into IT with this kind of pre-notion, or especially when we talk about people working in head office, IT guys are pretty much working in head office, and then you have maybe I started my career in a banking, right? So the IT guys, the core IT guys are pretty much sitting at the head office, and then you have the branch, the branches where the business operations typically go on. uh, there was this mindset that the head office guys are pretty much the you're always, if you're an head office guy, you're on a high horse, right? IT. Oh, I'm an IT guy. You know, the business depends on me, which is actually the other way around, right? You depend on the business. Without the business, you don't exist, right? So that mindset, knowing that you'll be able to get off your high horse that, oh, this sometimes you see people from the branches calling, and sometimes you have people not giving them the proper attention or the proper due care, due diligence, just like you said, that that sometimes these people are the need. So, and I think it's still very relevant as of today that if you have that mindset, right, that the business is there, to the IT is there to support the business. I know maybe I'm being a bit biased now because I'm also growing in my career, into leadership roles, right? But I think for managers, we need to do a better job as in explaining or in letting new people that come into the team, or especially junior staff that come into the team, have that understanding that IT is there to support the business, right? And realistically, right, IT might have a different KPI than the business, right? You don't. So let's say, for example, now a business is graded on, a banking business, for instance, is graded on how people bring in money for the bank or for the organization, right? And you want to, grade an IT person on the same light that, okay, an IT person, this is going to be your trajectory, your career trajectory, right? And you want to compare that side by side with someone in the same line as the core business of the organization, right? It's going to be an unfair competition to say, okay, this person, right, is working in the core operation of the organization, bringing in money. What role, what performance level do you need to be at for you to be compared at the same level and have the same career trajectory as that person? I guess maybe as managers, we don't do much of that explanation where, it now becomes of a bit of a contention where, uh, someone in the core business operation is getting, progressed a bit quicker than someone in IT. I believe, the expectations might not be clearly managed from the onset. So I think that's what I would have loved to have, because sometimes you make a rash decision and say, oh, I want to leave these organizations because, I don't think I'm growing at the same trajectory as the same person that came into, let's say you are working in a bank now, you are in IT and somebody's in marketing, bringing in the bulk of the money that setting up, meeting his KPI in terms of bringing in money for the bank, and then you are in IT, you are trying to compare yourself, right, in the same growth level as that same person. So I wish I understood the business side of things, that IT is there to support the business, and sometimes get off our eye horses as IT guys and says, oh, the business, without us the business can't run. That's it took me a while to actually come to that realization that it's actually the other way around. The business can decide to operate without IT, especially when they want to go for a different service model. So yeah, that's my 2 cents, about what I would have loved to have known earlier in my career. um so the next section, I think, is going to be an open floor, right? uh what advice would you like to give to someone, getting into IT today, or someone that's already, just new into IT? You know, so I would start with G. What is that? What is that? Could be a couple of advice that you want to give to the person that, someone getting into IT, or someone that is new into IT. What advice do you think you can give to them?
So this is what I do currently. When people reach out to me like, oh, I want to go into IT and everything. So the first thing I tell them is go online, check the different area of specializations in IT field, check the one you feel you will probably, you know, there are times you look at, the different fields and you feel, okay, I think I would do better here. If you get that one, then you can come back so we can discuss to let you know this is what this field is all about. Because, like we talked about our journeys into IT and everything, what would have done differently? It's more like we don't have that support of somebody, being there to like rush you. Like David said, if you have like a mentor who you go to every time, and it's just gonna tell you this is what you have to do. So you don't have to do that trial and error a couple of times before you now decide to like, okay, this is what I want to do. So I kind of like tell people now, check the different area of specializations. There is, software development, there is cybersecurity, there is networking, there is database management, a whole lot of different things. People do business analysis. You know, at the end of the day, you just want to know what aligns with your own passion because I started security not like because I had passion for it at the beginning, but now I think I'm enjoying it. And it could be like that for somebody else, and it might just be different for another person. Like you just talked about your experience whereby you wrote an exam, because I've never seen myself as a programmer because I'm not that patient to say, I'll be looking for a comma or full stop, disturbing me or something. I don't think I'm that patient to start looking for what is not missing or something. So now I just tell people, do your own findings about IT, read wide, get the different specializations, then come back, tell me the one you want. When you tell me the one you think you want to do and everything, then I can tell you what I know about it, how to go about it. And after providing that, because I currently have like 2 or 3 people right now, and I'll just tell them, okay, if you want to go into this, these are the materials you can just check out. Go back, read this material. I know somebody who's been on this for like almost 3 or 4 months now. Go back, read it. When you come back after you've read those materials and everything, then I ask you, what do you think? Is this something you feel you'll be able to do, or is it something you feel you can actually wake up every day to do? So, like at that point, some people will come back and say, I don't think I want to go into this. I think I will have to switch. So letting people have that knowledge, not by you telling them, oh, I think you should go, because I'm a security person and I'm not just going to tell you like, because I'm in cybersecurity, you have to do cybersecurity. No, like you could actually have passion for something else and you can actually excel in that particular area. So which I try to let people have that freedom of doing that finding, solving the internet by themselves after coming up with what they want, then giving them information or materials about a particular field. And sometimes I reach out to David, like, I have somebody who wants to go into DevOps or something. What do you think? Can you talk to this person? And you will tell me like, okay, send the person across. So doing that is just to make sure like people have like a knowledge about what they are thinking of or what they want to venture into. If they have that detailed knowledge, they can make the decision to like, okay, I think I want to do it, or they may even decide like, I don't think I will cope in this field. Okay, I think I want to go for something else. So which is what I currently do, and this is what I actually advise people as well. So I'll let somebody else take it from there.
Yeah, I think I'll go. I kind of agree with what you said. I think the number one thing is to knowing which area you want to specialize in. However, my own cheat to that when people, because again, people just like the fruits that comes out of IT, being an IT professional, like because they feel like it's a high paying career, and that's what they're actually after. That's what I've noticed. And one thing I will say is that if you are not a self learner or a self starter, don't IT is not a field that you just need a mentor that will guide. Okay, go here, but you have to be able to learn by yourself. I will compare it with nursing. The kidney has not changed since they created the kidney. But the technology that has changed since kidney, only God knows. So what they've learned in school can actually take them far as much as without. But with IT, it changes so rapidly that you have to be a self-starter and a self-learner. And the way I test people is I will send them to take like a 6 hour course by themselves. If you cannot complete it, then you are not fit to even do any. To me, I might be wrong, but because you will do a lot of that while everybody is sleeping, you will do a lot of that. And but again, when you have going back to what I said, if I had a mentor in the beginning, what that mentor would do for me would be direction. It would give me, okay, don't waste your time in this. And there's this saying that they say that the opportunity of a lifetime must be taken during the lifetime of the opportunity because IT changes rapidly. If you don't learn what you're supposed to learn, by the time you finish learning it, it's obsolete. It's not there anymore. So you have to be able to, learn fast, move fast, and that's how you stay on top. So my advice to anybody is that you want to assess if you're actually a self-learner and a self-starter. That is the number one ingredient. If you have those two things, I don't think there's no area you cannot get into IT. If you actually want to go straight to network security, you will get there. If you want to go to principal architect, you will get there. As long as you can learn by yourself, all you just need is, oh, go to this direction, go to this direction. And when you have a direction, you're just like a lost person. Everywhere we look at the destination, but when you have somebody to point you to it, it will get to your destination so quickly. And even when you get there, you'll be able to identify, oh, this is where I'm going to. So for me, if you're getting into IT, the first thing is we want to evaluate if you can actually pick yourself up in any time of the day and learn new stuff and practice new stuff. If you cannot, there's nothing anybody can do to help you with that. So and that's my own cheat. Like, okay, go take this. I have experience with people in the past. Like, they will come and 6 hours. I have a couple of folks that came one time. Only one person completed 6 hours. So and that person is doing wonderfully well now, right? Because the self-learning part is really important. Is really important. No matter how great your mentor is, if you can, they will only guide you, which is what some of us don't have, the guidance, so you have to figure it yourself. But once you have that guidance, a compass that can tell you, okay, this is where you go, then the rest is, is on you. So to me, evaluate if you're a self-starter, if you like a changing technology or changing environment, if you get what easily, IT is for you. But if you are very rigid to change, then you are go and do nursing or medicine. That's what I say. You are rigid.
Don't let the doctors or nurses come for you. Yeah, I think I agree with all you have said. And I think I just made down a few points as to you need to do your best learning or your growth in your personal time. So you don't confuse what you are learning. Well, what you are learning on the job is important, right? But you need to be able to dedicate time to grow yourself, to learn for yourself. You have to commit time to learning. That's one thing you need to know about IT. You learn, you unlearn, you relearn, because things keep. What we're doing in networking, when I started networking, was the black screen. You have to know how to have commands in your head, the Cisco commands, that has changed so drastically now, right? Because so imagine all the people. So are you gonna say, okay, because I'm gonna stick to my CCIE that I've learned how to build an entire network from CLI, right? Now that everything is now Meraki or cloud, right? I'm not gonna adapt, right? You have to learn, unlearn, and relearn new technology, new skills, right? Um, the next thing I would say is, you need to follow laid down procedures, right? If there is an SOP for something to be done, make sure you are following it. 90% of incidents are caused by, changes, right? And most times, people not following the laid down process for a change. Um, if you need help, ask for it, right? Nobody is a mountain of knowledge. Don't try to go it alone. Don't try to, you're struggling with a problem, right? Obviously you don't know the solution, right? You need to be able to know people that you can go to and ask for help, right? And then they can give you the help that you need. But it's a two-way street, right? You also need to be dependable that, when people know that they can also reach out to you and ask you for help, you'll be there for them as well. So, it doesn't go one way, it's two ways, right? Um, Whatever you decide to do, right? Make sure you understand the fundamentals of whatever you're doing. If you're an application person, understand the fundamentals of application. If you're a network person or a security person, understand the fundamentals of security or networking or network security. Because I can tell you that, uh, majority of the problems, right, you get solved, right? Or you can even easily eliminate causes by understanding fundamentals, and that leads you closer to the solution. I still solved the problem yesterday from my knowledge of subnetting, right? So, and that's the first thing you will learn when you're doing networking, subnetting. So as early as recent as yesterday, on Friday, which was the day before yesterday, I still solved the problem because there was a problem with the wrong subnetting that was used. So you have to understand the fundamentals because that will stay with you all through. A lot of things will change about the technology you support, but the fundamentals would always remain the same, right? Um, don't run away from major issues, right? If there are major incidents, it's also, like I said, it's also a double-edged sword. If there are major incidents or major issues, um, you know, be ready to participate in the resolution of those issues. Obviously, it might be difficult for you at first to just, jump into major issues like that. It could take some time to shadow people. Like, how is it done? How do they communicate? And then after a while, sometimes you can also take the lead for your team in resolving major incidents. It gives you visibility, um, but make sure that, sometimes, especially when it's a very major event or major incident, you're going to have very high senior people on the calls, right? When you want to speak, right, speak confidently and, sort of double check, triple check in your head what you want to say. It's not going to be it's going to be a very bad avenue for you to say rubbish. So it's a good avenue for you to get exposure, but it can also go back if you're not sure of what you're saying. So, and also go back to it goes back to the fundamentals. If you know your fundamentals, right? If you're on a major incident, you can easily, help determine, okay, based on the symptoms, this cannot be the problem, right? And then it narrows down the issues and gets you closer to the resolution, right? Also, don't be a person that, this problem you're talking about, it cannot be my issue, right? So it cannot be a problem of my unit. So I'm less concerned. It rubs off on leadership very bad, right? And then it makes you look terrible if it eventually happens to be that issue happened to be from your unit, and but you were quite dismissive, right? Um, you need to find a balance between your work life and your family life, right? We don't talk about that too much, but you need to strike a balance because if things are not happy on the home front, trust me, it has a way of affecting your work as well too. Lastly, don't hoard knowledge, right? Don't hoard knowledge. Don't be that person that says, "Oh, I know this, but I'm not going to share that knowledge." It's first of all, if you have that character in a team, right? People would observe it, people would know it, the team leads would know it, right? But what you don't know about it is that in some way you are shooting yourself in the leg because you can't grow if you don't have a replacement, right? If you don't train, particularly in some teams, right? If you don't train the person that will take over your current role, you can move on to the next role because they'll look at it and, okay, if we promote this guy now, right, who is going to take over his role? So even for a selfish reason, right, you need to make sure that you're not hoarding knowledge. You are sharing, you're educating people as much as you can, in growing, right? So I think that will be my 2 cents in that. We're slowly creeping to the end of the session. Just a bit, two more topics, and we'll get to the end of the session. Um, a very interesting one, which I would like Afo to take the lead on this. What's your take on getting certification versus getting experience? Which one should be the priority?
Um, this is this is an ongoing debate in the space of IT all the time. But in my own opinion, I feel like experience beats certification. However, I would say I would advise that at the beginning of everyone's journey into IT, you need to pursue experience first. Experience would you cannot read experience. You can only acquire experience. So, but with certification is more of upskilling. Like that's the method that I do, and I feel like I'm beginning to like feel obsolete with my knowledge. A way to upskill is for me. Let me take this certification just to read about the new technology around it, and that's how I upskill because with certification, you have like an end goal to pass an exam. So compared to if you are just reading, passively to just know something, but because you aiming to pass, You strengthen your memory muscles as well because you have to memorize some things in order for you to write the exam. So to me, I always like to pursue in the early phase of my career. I think I was pursuing experience. I wasn't even pursuing money. I was pursuing experience. I just want to be exposed to as much as I could be exposed to. And over time, the certification came. Me prioritizing experience over certification does not mean certification is not relevant because within our industry, certification is the only way you learn about a technology apart from passing reading, especially if you are not an academia, if you're a professional. The only way you can actually get a hold of new technology is whatever certification they provide, you take them. It is important. But I would say that the experience would actually help you in even getting your certification or passing the certification. And I have a personal experience that when I took my AWS Solutions Professional, I didn't study much compared to when I took the associate. Because when I took the associate, I didn't have much experience. But when I gathered experience and I just went to, okay, what are the new services from AWS? I didn't study much and I was able to pass it seamlessly. I answered the question through experience, not even through, but again, I just needed to upskill to be exposed to the new services. So again, to me, experience will beat certification. However, you can see certification as a cherry on the cake. You need both to get to the higher ranks of your IT career.
All right. Thanks. G.
It's just like David said, it it goes both ways. It all depends on how you're looking at it. Sometimes some people just want you to have the experience, and sometimes they will ask you, "Oh, do you have the certification?" So I'll take for instance, it all depends on where you want to be. And like me, I feel like let's say you want to come into the cloud, even if you have the experience, but they can't see anything to say. Okay, maybe AWS or Azure solution architect or something, or OCI or Google certification or something. At that point, they can doubt your experience because when they ask you questions, that is when they know, okay, this person really have the experience. But if nobody sees you, maybe because certification is like you marketing yourself out there. Like, okay, I have this, okay, I have this, I have this, I have this certification, I have this. I'll say, Shifi, remember when you're preparing for your CISSP, you've seen online how people kind of like cherish the CISSP like the almighty certifications you need to have. Experience is the first thing you want to start thinking of because sometimes even if you don't have the certification, you want to get yourself attached to somebody just to get exposed to the technology, how it's been done, you know. But at the end of the day, some people will just reach out and say, oh, we're looking for somebody to be a cloud security person for our AWS cloud environment. And at the end of the day, the first thing they will ask you, do you have like AWS security specialty? If you don't, they'll, in their mind, even if you know it, in their mind, they'll be like, okay, this person doesn't know it. Because only when you get selected or shortlisted for the interview, that is when you can talk about your experience and okay, I think I know this, and you talk about so many AWS security tools, and they start looking. Okay, it looks like this guy really knows it. The experience is one thing, the certification is another thing, but trying to balance both goes a long way for me because if you have, there are people that just have the certifications, they don't even have the experience. They know something, and luckily they might just talk their way through the interview, and they get the job. And now they are being exposed to the real environment where they can actually learn on the job sometimes. And there are some people they don't even have the experience because some people, like somebody coming into the IT new, I kind of advise as much as you're trying to learn the experience, you also want to pay attention to the certification because sometimes you might not really have that opportunity to have the experience about that particular thing you want to do. Sometimes if you don't have anybody to like call you to like, okay, come and see how I get it. How I do these things for you to really see this is how this thing is being done. And sometimes it might just be a certification somebody sees and okay, I think we're looking for somebody that David, I remember you said this thing one time, like that. People just looking for somebody that has people that have CISSP, just they want that kind of person to be in their team. That is not like it's not like they feel like you know so much about the old cybersecurity for you to have that. But that certification, what they need that thing for something, which gives them, it gives them this. I'm trying to look for the right word to use. Just something for them to like. Oh,
Leverage.
we have
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Oh, we have a lot of people that have CISSP. We have people that have Seagate. We have people that have CCSP. In our team, just like to boast, about it to their counterparts. Like, okay, we have these people that have this, and which gives them this thing. Like, okay, they have people that have the knowledge, because like you said, the knowledge comes in from that certification sometimes, which you want to upskill your knowledge, and you want to like, okay, like I know AWS and I want to go into Azure. All I have to do is just to like, okay, what do I need to present out there for them to know that yes, this person knows much about Azure. First thing is, let me take this Azure certification, whereby when they see that on my profile, then they look like, okay, this person has knowledge, and they can actually come to talk to me. But if I have the knowledge, even if I have the experience, and there's nothing to really show, that all I have is just AWS. Somebody will just bypass, like, okay, this person is more like AWS, but we need somebody in Azure. So both are very, very, important and necessary to really push your career in IT. So I think that's what I have to say to that.
Yeah, I think, yeah, you guys pretty much hit the nail on the head. I just to sum it up, right? I think, certification gets you the interview, right? But your experience will get you the job. I think that's,
Yeah.
a simple way I can put it. It
Yeah.
gives you an edge over peers. Let me say, when people are scanning, okay, we want to weed out CVs, right, or resumes who are certification, or because most times, people know that some people have specialty in writing resume. They can write a beautiful resume that without speaking to them, right, you would think, this guy is all and all, right? So the certification helps, recruiters weed out, who do we want to speak to, right? But when it gets to the interview, so certification will get you the interview, but your experience will get you the job, right? I think that's the way, I just sum it up all together. Um, we'll go to the last segment before we close out, which is, building and maintaining connections, right? And I'll take this and then, we'll wrap up in about 2 minutes. Uh, yeah, as you go through your journey, right, in IT, right, you need to, you know, uh, grow your connections, right? Because you never can tell when it's going to come in handy, right? We used to have a joke when I was back in the banking sector, in Nigeria, that the only way an IT person can get promoted is by moving jobs, right? And that was literally true, right? You get, recommendations, um, and even beyond that, right? You sometimes you have a network of people that you can speak to when you get, run into issues as well too. So, you need to maintain, try and build very strong relationships when you are working, because you never can tell. They might move on to another opportunity. You might move on to another opportunity and need dependable hands, right? They might also need dependable hands, as they grow in their career. The relationships you build, right, uh, would be very remnant in their memory that, oh, I know this person, right? And they can give you recommendations. But it's not just about being the nice guy, right? It's, obviously about knowing what you know, knowing your stuff, right? So, because even if they are, no matter how friendly they are with you, if they go to another place and see a better opportunity, if they might not be willing to recommend you if, they know you can't do the job, even no matter how friendly they are to you, because, then their reputation is also at risk, right? So you need to build relationships as you grow. All right. Um, for anything to add to that?
I think you said it all. And again, one thing, coming from Nigeria, where we don't really tend to build network or relationship or maintain connections. It's one thing that I struggled with when I moved to the United States. I just want to do my stuff, leave and just, but over time, I've started inculcating that habit of, okay, let me keep connections, which I'm still in the process of doing. I'm not there yet, but it's very important, that cultural shift where we're raised to just mind your business, go to work, come back without, that building that interaction and connection. So I feel like it is really important, not even at your current work or even generally in life. Maintaining connections outside your immediate family is really important to achieving success in any sphere of life. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. G?
Yeah, but I kind of like agree when it comes to connection because I saw something online today where somebody was talking about people moving from one part of the world to another part of the world, and it's just like two different you know countries, cultures, and what the person said today is about people applying for jobs. Like back from in Nigeria, it's about the numbers. Like you just keep applying, and the person was now saying something about having connections. Like it's not about the number of jobs that will get you an interview. It's about the connections you have. Like you could actually know someone who works in a company and you just tell the person, okay, this is my field, and if you have any opening or something, and they will recommend you. And guess what? You will bypass the process of having to submit your resume before you get called, before the resume will get shortlisted and everything, which gives people job. And the statement that person made is it is really not about the number of applications you submit. It's about the kind of or the type of connections you have that will really get you a job, which makes sense. Because like sometimes we talk sometimes and we talk about how many applications you've done and nothing is forthcoming and you keep asking yourself, what am I doing wrong? Is there something I'm missing? And at the end of the day, you talk to other people, you're doing what other people are doing. And, there's this thing out there where they're trying to make you feel like it's about the number of jobs you have to do. But when you speak to people in HR, they give you a different perspective about this whole application of the thing. So building connection, because I'm learning it right now, because I'm just like David said, we're used to do your job, find a way to get your things done, and move on with your life. Now I work remotely and I'm just inside every day. The only time I step out of the house is when I have to take a walk in the evening. Other than that, I will be in. So trying to build a connection, not just with families, but within your area of specialization and outside the area of specialization, because we need to know people to really move on. I mean, to move, to climb steps in life and everything, which I believe is very, very important.
Yeah. Thanks, G. And thanks, Chifi, for the contribution. I guess we've come to the end of today's session. But before we close the curtain today, this is just like the first of so many that will come. And as you watch this, there's a whole lot that we'll be sharing here. This is just, again, trying to introduce ourselves, trying to know the faces behind the veil. And there will be lots of like hands-on tutorials, guidance, mentorship as we build this community. And we just want you to, watch out for this channel. There's so much more to come. Any last words, guys?